Hello friends, welcome to JavaEE EJP JPA tutorial. Now you are watching part 2 of the sub-series Stateful Session Bean. So here in this example we will see how to create Stateful Session Bean. The client part of coding we will do that in the next video, but here we will create the Stateful Session Bean. So as already told in the previous videos, set up this Wildfly and Eclipse environment. Also make sure those 4 projects are ready as explained here in this tutorial Ash 303 in this same series. So in the previous video we learned about the basics of Stateful Session Bean. So if you see here, for this example we are creating the remote interface. You can look at the annotation. It's just like the previous example, stateless session bean. The same way for stateful session bean also we will create the remote interface. Then we have 4 methods. One is, so here our remote interface is a shopping cart remote. That's what we are going to implement. The functionality what we are offering is clear cart. When there are product added to the cart, the clear cart will clear all the items added in the basket. So the next one is remove product. Here we will provide the product name. The implementation will search for the product name and it will remove it. Then we can add a new product, and here we can list all the product in the cart. So since it is a list, there may be one product or more than one product. So here we are returning a array list. So to resolve this type, we have java.util.arraylist here. So next we need to implement the remote interface. So this is our remote interface we already saw in the previous slide. So this is the project which will hold all the remote interface. So in this project we already have a remote interface. So that remote interface is for the stateless session bean. Now here if you see, our EJB client project is holding a new remote interface, shopping cart remote. So the shopping cart remote supports 4 functionality. So we have shopping cart remote type here. This is 3 and 4. So EJB client project is holding the shopping cart remote definition, and the client now knows there are 4 methods in this. So the external world will access this shopping cart remote, and through this it will access the actual implementation one. So if you see here, this is our shopping cart remote. We are implementing this, and the class name is shopping cart. that implements shopping cart remote. Here you can see we are defining a data member. So this is what we call it as a state. So this is nothing but an array list, but since it is having a state here, and since it's a array list, at runtime the array list may be different for different client based on how many product they added to the shopping cart, and the number of product may be different, and what product they added they also differ from client to client. So we have a data member. Next, in the constructor, if you see, we are initializing this data member to array list. So our shopping cart will contain a string. So in real world it will be an instance of a product class which contains many other information like the product name, type, price, and other details. But for our example, we are just taking product name only. So it's a string, and we can assume that this is our shopping cart. Here we just initialized the array in the constructor. So when a bean instance is created for a particular client, an array will be ready. Next, if you see, since it's a array list, we simply use the array list functionality for a place product. So this is the function. Place product is implemented, and for the place product we are simply calling the add method of our array list. Similarly, here we are using the remove. The parameter is coming here name, and the name is given to add method. Similarly, for remove also we just send the object name here, which is a string. Then for clear cart we are simply calling the clear method on the array list. Then for list cart item we doesn't do anything, but we simply return this cart to the caller. So that's all. So the implementation is simple. Here we doesn't do any big implementation, but we are just calling the array list methods here, and thereby we are implementing the shopping cart. But in real world there may be a lot of validation and other stuff. It will not be plain simple like this, but for learning purpose this will be enough. So let's say this shopping cart remote type is A, and the implementing class is B. So the type A shopping cart remote, which has all these 4 functions, and it is implemented by shopping cart, which contains a state which is nothing but the cart here. This is the shopping cart array list, and the functionality operates on this specific state. So the exposed function will change the state of this array list. So it's implemented here. Defined 1, 2, 3, 4 is defined in shopping cart remote type A, and which is implemented by type B, which is nothing but our class shopping cart, which contains an array and implements all 4 functionality defined in this remote interface. And external world will make a call to this remote interface and thereby access the functionality implementation. So the external world only knows this remote interface. It doesn't know how it was implemented or what is the implementation class, all the stuff. So also the client, if it resolves the type name of this shopping cart remote, that is sufficient enough. So we know that the EJB client project defines the interface, EJB Bean client, and this is just EJB Bean. It's a different project that provides the implementation. So that's why the accessing client or the Bean consumer will concentrate on this project and resolves the dependency. Alright, now we will go ahead and implement these two types. Okay, this is the workspace we created for our previous demo. That means for Stateless Session Bean, this is the workspace we created, and in this workspace we created 4 projects to demo the Stateless Session Bean. We will use the same workspace. So this is the EJB Bean, and in our previous example we created a stateless session bean. We'll copy this package name. So here we're creating a new session bean package. Whatever we copied, we will use that. Here instead of stateless, we will put stateful. Stateful bean. So the class name will be shopping cart, and here we will be implementing only the remote interface. And this one is important, state type. This time we are using stateful. So the moment I keep this class as a stateful bean, it will get the properties of activation, passivation, all those stuff. But if I keep this as a stateless, then the container will create a pool of the shopping cart object, and it will use that pool of object to service the client request. So since we are going to implement it as a stateful session bean, we selected state type as stateful, and you can see, like we told in the previous video, it automatically picked the remote interface name. So the class we are implementing is shopping cart. This is our bean, stateful session bean. Stateful session bean is shopping cart, which implements shopping cart remote. So let us click next here. Then in the map name, we'll just provide the same name, and that's all. We'll click finish. So this is the shopping cart, and which implements a shopping cart remote. So you can control click this, it will directly go to the project EJB Bean client, EJB module, and if you see here a package is created, stateful bean, and if you double click, we will have this shopping cart remote. Or here itself you can press the control key, then click. So it will go to the definition of the interface. First point what you have to note here is the marker. So here the annotation is stateful. In our previous example, the annotation is stateless. And you can see this is the annotation, and which is coming from javax.ejb.stateful. So here we will add our first piece of code. So we defined 4 method here in this shopping cart remote interface, and in the array list we are resolving the type. The array list is from java.util package, so we are importing it. Save this. So since we defined 4 method here, the shopping cart is asking to implement all the methods. So here we are choosing add unimplemented methods. So before the constructor, we define a data member for our shopping cart, which is nothing but the array list. Then in the constructor, here this is just a declaration. Now we will create shopping cart. So here in the clear item, we will make use of the instance cart. We will remove the comments. So here we are clearing all the items. We're just accessing the array list functionality, that's all. So we're not doing anything special here. So now we implemented shopping cart remote and shopping cart, and you can see the two projects are used, EJB Bean and EJB Bean client. Shopping cart remote interface is defined here in EJB client, and it is implemented in EJB Bean project, just like what we did in previous example. We have done the same thing here. So the only difference here is here we are maintaining an state, so that's the only difference. And here we marked this as a stateful session bean. Remote interface, if you see, this is remote, and in a stateful session bean also it's marked as a remote. The say hello we implemented right in our previous example, that's marked as a remote. So this is also marked as a remote interface, but the implementing class tells whether it is a stateful session bean or a stateless session bean. So here it says stateless, and our shopping cart says this is a stateful session bean. Alright, now we will deploy this and check once. First let us start the server. Now we will add our EJB EAR. Alright, so we added our EJB ER, and you can see both of our beans are shown here. This is our previous bean. Hello Bean is the class which implements Hello Bean remote from the package Stateless Bean. Here, this is our shopping cart remote interface, and the implementing class is a shopping cart. Alright, let's stop this. So we are seeing undeployed, clear, remove it, then stop the server. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye. So in the next video, we will go ahead with the implementation of client accessing this stateful shopping cart bean.